Welcome to my channel. A day ago I filmed a video about my finished works in Creative Heaven books by T.Goodridge, everything apart from a winter theme, and I decided that my winter pictures before the actual start of the winter season, they deserve to have a separate video. You know that I love winter and Christmas theme pictures. I have these books already for several years, so I gathered quite a lot of works in them. I love all three books. For me, they are slightly different in picture style, even in line art style. Winter Wonderland was my first one, and here I would say that pictures are more similar to the works in sketchbook. I do love that here we have quite delicate line art. Just some of the pictures, maybe they have slightly excessive amount of lines on the snow, but I managed to quite successfully mask them with white paint, so it's not a problem at all. Enchanted Christmas also is very lovely, but for me it has a slightly bigger amount of childish elements, and style of the pictures also is more close to the illustrations in children's books. Simplified animals, simplified shape of the decorations, and probably too many small girls, elves and other creatures, so it's nice to color one or two such pictures, but I would prefer slightly lesser amount of such pictures here and bigger amount of landscapes. So Christmas Charm is the best book among the three of them, at least for me, because it has perfect balance between two previous books, very good variety of Christmas pictures. We have outside Christmas scenes, we have interiors decorated with various Christmas elements, Christmas trees, a lot of presents, interesting Christmas wreaths, garlands. Sometimes I think that lines are too thick and not all the leaves I love. Sometimes they also have excessive amount of lines, but still for me this one is the best. Let's start from Winter Wonderland. As usual, I'd better go from the end. And this year I also intend to color here, just that's what I was talking about, that maybe it's too many lines for me. Such wooden texture I prefer to do myself. Those lines on the snow I will be masking, but otherwise it's really very nice. Here I have my Christmas train. It's a very old work, but still I'm quite happy every time when I look at it. I remember that it was the first time when I did steam, and I really worked hard how to do steam when I had behind this light blue background. Something went bad with blending on the sky, but that's the only problem. And I'm extremely proud of those yellow reflections on the snow. I think that it was the first time when I successfully managed to show such effect. That's probably the least successful picture in the whole book. Maybe because it was not very exciting from the beginning. A lot of snow, so you can't do anything very colorful here, even if I try to add a little bit of color to the old leaves here and to the old building. But of course my biggest struggle was with this frozen falling water, and I still don't know if I like it or not. The only thing which I definitely like here is the bridge, because apart from traditional brown and gray colors, I added a little bit of even lavender, great lavender and jade green to add more variety to the old stones, variety of colors, and I think that it looks nice. Everything else just plenty boring. Nice pictures, and that's what I say, that they really look like pictures in sketchbook. As usual, very nice compositions here. I tried to make pictures with daytime sky, with evening sky. And I even experimented with different colors for the sky. This one was also quite interesting to do. A lot of snow, so it gave me a lot of practice how to show shadows on the snow. I used, of course, a lot of gouache paints, but mostly I used Prismacolor pencils. And in this book we have one of my most successful Christmas pictures. It's already very old, but I'm still extremely proud. Again, because of this atmosphere of warm light coming from the fireplace and highlighting everything around. I try to show that everything is lit by this light, a little bit of reflection on the armchair, on the wooden floor, and on the branches of the Christmas tree which is closest to the fire. So I'm really still very proud of it. Maybe I had to mask lines more carefully, but as I said, in this book we have probably the thinnest and most delicate line art. I don't know why in the latest books she started to use much thicker lines, and that's definitely not for my taste. I'm very disappointed with this thick line art in Kitchen Charm and in Christmas books also. So that's probably my best horse which I did so far, because in other books shading wasn't so good. I did horse in Romantic Country, but here I think that shading was the best. Here I imagined that maybe Happy Family returned from their grandparents, and I tried to add a little bit of Christmas garlands on the building. I'm glad that here I decided to use dark evening sky. At least it creates good contrast to the huge areas of snow. I tried to color in slightly different way. Color shadows on the snow for the daylight and for the nighttime. For the nighttime I add more violet colors, so I hope that it also makes my pictures slightly different one from another. Because when you color a lot of winter pictures, yes, they could start to look a little bit similar, but at least I tried to make some difference. I also tried to make difference in the colors of the buildings, and unfortunately here I totally failed. I love this picture because I love this Christmas tree, where I decided to use slightly more unusual color for the Christmas balls, not only our traditional gold, red and green. I love those magenta and orange and even a little bit of yellow around them. Maybe they are lamps. And I love this Happy Family, how I did shading on the snow and on the snowman. But why I selected this blue color for the building, which is very similar to the color of the snow, I don't know. With nectar or peach or cinnamon, it would like much better. But at least for the sky I used cream and peach, so at least sky makes some difference. You know, sometimes you can make not the best color choice, but I still love this page. This one was simple. I remember that mostly here I worked with gouache to mask all the black lines on the snow and a lot of gouache on the landscape. Here I tried to make those hills which are far from us darker and area in front of us on the foreground lighter to add some perspective. Here I was inspired by Kincaid pictures, so I got his idea of a lot of warm yellow, almost orange reflections around sources of light. Here my source of light is this building, so I added this yellow-orange color everywhere. And a lot of lavender lilac colors, also inspired by paintings by Thomas Kincaid. Here I used gouache, and even if I like it, I remember that, well, it's a little bit complicated when you use gouache for small objects, and water here Well, I can't say that it was ruined, because I know that to do water with gouache for the first time successfully, it's not an easy thing. But still, this area I love a little bit more comparing to the area of water. Here I even used a little bit of watercolor to make background. I think that you can clearly see where I used watercolor, because it's slightly bleeded through, but it's not a problem, because on top of watercolor pencils worked well and it was much quicker way of coloring. Yeah, I think that's all for the Winter Wonderland, and I intend to color in this book this year also. It's tempting to use only Christmas charm, but I will try to distribute my attention between the three of them. Here I have lesser amount of finished pictures, but still they are interesting, because sometimes I try to experiment with colors. Here I have my pink Christmas. I even managed to use a little bit of neon colors for the background. And that's what I was talking about, that maybe a little bit too much of these little girls is, for me, bordering between adult and children coloring book. That's one of my favorites in this book. The second favorite will be with Ores, but this one was really good. Again, great composition. I love everything here. First, you are never bored when you color it, because you have a little bit of snow landscape, a little bit of interior with different color for the wood, and for the garland consists from various leaves, and a lot of nice things here. I really tried to make those lamps on the tree shiny, so Christmas tree, even if it's tiny, it's still the focal point of the whole composition. Very lovely page. This one really was good. When I started it, I wasn't sure how I want to finish it. I wanted to color unicorn and sleigh, but I wasn't sure what to do with the sky. But when I imagined this light halo and a lot of snow around the castle, like a tiny snow globe, and then a dark sky for the rest of the background, I realized that it could be a really very good page. So now I am quite proud of it. Again, maybe I had to mask lines more carefully, but sometimes in the very end I still don't have enough patience and I want to finish picture quickly. And yeah, that's my second favorite in the book. I remember that I fall in love with this picture so much that I did this one even after Christmas, things which I usually don't do. I stopped to color Christmas pictures with all those decorations exactly in the end of December, but I remember that I wanted to do this one so much that I did it in January. Of course, because it's for the figure skating theme, so even we have this skate for the elves, still it's really very nice. And honestly, I'm proud of myself. Look at the blade. I think that it has quite realistic highlights, reflection from the ribbon into the steel, and I do love how I did the skate with various shades. Probably the most challenging was color choice for the balls and for the elf. In the end, I think that this violet looks great with the more traditional Christmas colors. And it was probably one of the first times when I actually used marker underpaint, because it was a quicker way to do wooden background, and it helped me to save my beige Prismacolor pencils. So it's a combined work. And also I started to use bigger amount of paints here. Apart from white paint for the snow, I started to mask black lines on the leaves with green gouache, and it also helped to make this picture more like painting rather than coloring. This one I love, but I think that I complicated my background and those sparkles of light, those circles of light, hello background. It distracts attention from the rest which consists from leaves and birds. Honestly, I never was very good at coloring birds in Teresa Goodridge books. Sometimes they all look more like toys, not like real birds when I finish to color them. But maybe I complicated things when I did this background. Sometimes more simple solution maybe is the best for the final look of the page. So now I think that simple, very dark, almost black blue maybe would be better. But still, it's nice. I remember how much I enjoyed to do this unusual birdhouse, very interesting, beautiful shape. And I love how I did this wooden texture, and I love this garland from stars and Christmas balls. Yeah, it's almost all for this one. Apart from the tiny snowman here, it was my first work when I just received the book, and I still think that it looks quite lovely. Maybe it's not visible on the screen, but there are two colors for the snow, more bluish for the snowman himself and more violet blue for the snow around. And later I started to work on this effect and I did it stronger for the later pictures, so that was the first time probably when I started to experiment with various shades of blue for the snow. In Christmas charm, I already did my first pictures this year, so it will be a mix of old and new. Here is one of my recently finished pictures. I have a soft spot for beautifully decorated doors with Christmas wreaths, so of course I wanted to color this one, and good thing is that in this book I have another beautiful door which maybe I will try to color this year also. Again, I started to use a lot of gouache for the snow and for the pine tree branches, because here line art was very thick and where it was possible I tried to mask it. This one was part of the experiment when I got my Arteza and Sucolor pencils. I tried to use them here. I think that it's partly Arteza. I think that I missed a picture in Christmas, Enchanted Christmas, because here I also experimented with Sucolor pencils, but I forgot to show you it. Somehow I missed it. Okay, we will return to it in a moment. So this one is a rare exception when I didn't use Prismacolors, but I still think that it looked nice. And even with black lines, which now I would prefer to mask on the balls, especially and for the those lights, I still think that it's nice because in the beginning my background was much lighter and everything looked very flat, but then I risked and added a very dark gray, almost black, on top of green and brown, and now I think that contrasts and stronger, shadows are deeper, and picture looks much better. I remember that I decided that for the Christmas tree I can use various pastel shades to decorate it, and for the train the most traditional Christmas combo of yellow, bright green and red, so at least they don't mess up together and it's bright, but at the same time it looks maybe like two parts of the picture, and I love the effect. We will return to this in a moment, but in Christmas charm, in Enchanted Christmas, I definitely did a page with Poinsettia Elf. How I managed to here. This one I did with Sucolor pencils. That's why I remember it clearly. And it was a really interesting coloring, because even if coloring with color was slightly slower comparing to Prismacolors. Still, I think that it looks nice. So paper in a Creative Heaven series, it's good for color pencils, at least Black Barrel colors. And I also used a little bit of pearlescent paints on her wings. But honestly, the Christmas tree, especially poinsettias, I love more comparing to the girl. I think that it was the best picture with the elf which I had here, and the rest of them I'm still not very eager to color. My favorite Christmas decoration here is this star. I tried to show that it's made from transparent shining glass, and I think that effect is at least close to what I wanted. So this one, I think that it's really very nice. I will leave you a link to this video in the end of this review. So let's return to Christmas charm. Oh my god, I hope that soon they will start to give better names to these books, because I even mess up myself when I name these books. Enchanted Christmas, Christmas Charm. No, they need more fantasy in naming their books. This one I called Christmas Eve, and I love to do evening pictures because you can do stronger shadows, you can do stronger contrasts between yellow light and deep, almost dark blue shadows, and I consider this one as one of the best pictures here. To color it was a little bit boring, especially this background landscape area of the village which is far from us. But when I look at the central part, at this very beautiful wooden church and all those different Christmas trees, I think that it looks lovely. Well, that's why I love this book, because we have different styles of pictures, and even if you feel that you have enough of winter landscapes, you can switch and still color something for the winter scene, but in different style. And this one was nice, but I was slightly confused by this tree. For me it was maybe too big, and it still for me distract attention from the beautiful gifts which we have inside of the shop. It's like too much branches here and decorations here. Yeah, sometimes it's like with Klara Markova books that you feel that maybe lesser amount of details could be more beneficial for the final look of the picture. Oh, I would want to do this one with this year because I love how Santa looks here. Another one interesting where I used polychromos. I think that one of the deep cobalt polychromos pencils for the background together with Prismacolor pencils for the rest. I wanted something more unusual on color for the background, and I think that this dark bluish green really helped me to make good contrast to them. Branches here, branches of pine, and all those pine cones, cinnamon. Of course, my favorite element here was this lantern. I remember that I was quite nervous how to show all the reflections on this shape of the lantern on this glass. But now when I look at it, I think that it looks nice with the reflection on the snow around and on the base of the lantern and on this glass. So it's a nice work, even if I still don't like how I color cardinal. Somehow, even with many attempts which I already did, my cardinals, they never look really good. Here, a lovely interior picture. This kitchen I started to color with polychromoses. I did this brick wall and beginning of the kitchen here, but somehow polychromes didn't want to lay down nicely, so I switched to Prismacolors, and the rest I did in much more traditional Prismacolors. So even if I experiment from time to time, I always return to Prismacolors. Here my favorite element is those various Christmas decorations. Some of them I turned into lamps. I simply added halo of light around balls, so the whole tree looks more shiny. And I tried to use a lot of red elements to decorate kitchen. Next one, it's my work in progress. And that's another one in my top list of Christmas pictures. I love everything here. Both parts of this page, the outside landscape with night sky, with beautifully decorated building behind our house, and this nice snowman. I hope that you can see that I try to add highlights and reflections on the glass, on the window, dividing from the outer world, and the color choice for the curtains was really quite successful. It frames window nicely, and it creates good contrast to the rest of the Christmas things here, to the stockings, to the pillows, and to the tree. So I remember that when I finished it, I was so proud of myself, so happy that I didn't mess up with all the elements. Everything looks bright, festive, and in the same time quite well balanced and harmonical. Another interesting picture, I love to color food, but here I can't explain myself why I hadn't masked lines more carefully. On many objects I think that it would be beneficial to mask lines more carefully, but mostly I concentrated on how to show reflections on the glass with red wine and reflections on the light tablecloth, then highlights from the candle. The only element which frustrates me here, which I totally dislike, is this huge star. It has strange shape, and again it's too much. For me it would be just enough to have only window here. The tree is decorated, the table is full of various elements, so the star for me it's just excessive element. And another one which I love and which has perfect Christmas spirit for me, it's those beautifully decorated shops. I love to add this effect of falling snow simply with white paint, sprinkling it on top. Here I slightly changed shape of the buildings. It has additional floor, but I deleted it by covering it with very dark blue, so area of the sky started to be bigger, and I like it in such a way a little bit more. And I love that again for the Christmas I use something slightly different comparing to usual red bubbles. In such a way these small groups attracts attention, but here we have many lovely details which you can look at and feel the Christmas spirit. Yeah, surprisingly that's all, but I hope that after last week of November and after December time I will have many more works here, because that will be my main book for December, and I hope that maybe next year Teresa will create for us another beautiful Christmas books. Thank you, and I hope to return to you quite soon with the review of my best Christmas winter pictures in all my books apart from Teresa Goodridge.